and my dear student friends. I have the immense pleasure to be here to share my some of feelings, thoughts, ideas on budget. It is not that I know everything, you do not know anything. I have to learn from you, have to learn from me. The moment one thinks that he has learned everything and he knows everything, then that is the end of his road. More you will learn, you feel that you are missing many things. You also forget some things, you could not memorize some things, and you go on reading. That's what I believe. I always believe that I am missing many things to learn. I also forget many things. It's not easy to memorize everything. So it is a great thing that I am here. I find the students are very disciplined, faculties are very cordial. So I am very pleased with the atmosphere. Particularly, I am very impressed the way your student principal spoke. I have delivered speech on many organizations. Rarely I find any head of the organization speaking in pro-people angle. It is not question whether we are speaking against government or in support of government. It is the question whether we are speaking in pro-people angle or pro-rich angle. That is the matter. I am very happy. First time I saw in an educational institution where authority principal is speaking in pro-people angle. That is very important thing. First time I saw. I am very thankful to the principal. Next important thing is as a writer, as a columnist, I feel to be associated with every section of the society. Because a writer does not learn only from books. He learns by interacting with each section of the society. The writer has his own philosophy, thought, ideas. He collects those from the people by interacting, how a human behaves. Why the most difficult thing is to please the human being? What is the intricacy of the human behavior? Because in textbook you read only theory. But as a writer, when you write in the newspapers, you have to mix the emotion of the people. You have to mix the thought of the people. What's the practical experience in the society? Why human behaves like this? Why powerful behave like this? Why government presents a project in the pro-rich angle? Why not pro-people angle? That is the knowledge which you gather from the peoples by interacting with the students, teachers, faculties. So when Devashish Babu requested me, I was very pleased to be here. I am thankful to Dr. Monmon Mahanti and Devashish Babu and others faculties to be here and to help me to come here. Particularly coming to the budget. Budget is the income and expenditure of public authority. But it is not confined to the only income and expenditure. It shows how the government wants to move, how the government wants to implement, how it is raising taxation, how it is spending, what type of policy it is adopting, how you want to make future plans. Many things government policy is reflected in the budget. So budget is not simple income and expenditure. Budget is also important in how the resources is generated. Whether poor are paying more or rich are paying more. How the spending is made, whether it is made on the people's cause or it is made to help the rich. How the resources is generated, how much the government is going to borrow, how much it is spending on the repaying the loan, how it wants to enhance the well-being of the society, living standard of the people. Many things are reflected in the budget. On that extent, I believe that budget has failed miserably. For the fifth time, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented her budget. Very few finance minister has such privileges. Budget confuses more than explain in simplicity. When you are not able to convince the people, you confuse them. The more confusion comes the taxation systems, particularly income tax. While presenting budget, people react in a different way. Before the presentation of budget, politicians are prepared to what should be their comment. In a natural process, those who are supporters of ruling class or those who are ruling at center, they obviously like to support the budget, whether it is good or bad. Opposition are likely to oppose or criticize the budget even it has good thing or bad thing. But as a academician, as a student, as a columnist, you have to analyze the project in a pro-people angle. How it is prepared in a pro-people angle, how it will enhance the living standard of the people. Sometimes we have seen ministers, politicians are saying that some cases there will be decline in some cases. Remember, there will be rise in some cases nominal, there will be decline in some cases in nominal, and 8% of GDP are taking the inflation into consideration, there will be also decline. There will be also decline or rise. I will go to that chapter later. The most important thing is how you are raising the resources. Resources is raised, tax, non-tax, borrowing, all are things. Your principal was telling about direct tax, indirect tax, I am not going to this. But the tax system must be progressive. Do you know, Indians, poor people pay more tax as proportionate of their income than richer section of the society? You may think how beggar pays more tax also. They pay more tax because of indirect tax, GST, excise tax. Oxfam report says 60%, 64% of GST has come the 50% of the population. And richer section has paid only 3-4% of GST. That means there should be more revenue generation from direct tax, less from the indirect tax. And direct tax can be said progressive when the tax rate increases, tax slab increases with the rise of income or wealth. Remember, government has reduced the surcharge from 37% to 25% in case of income of a high crore to help to appease the millionaire. When I pay 30% of tax up to that income, then those who are having more income, they are supposed to pay more percentage of tax. Once upon a time, we had 97% of tax, income tax slab. I am not in favor of this. But that does not mean that should be as low as today. Even the highest income tax slab, which is, there are some countries who have more highest income tax than our countries. And if you remember, people are earning IPL, celebrities, they are earning crores of rupees. I will pay 30% tax, they will pay 30% tax. That means when they should pay 40%, 50% or 60%. If they will not pay the tax as required, that means they are given the tax subsidy. Understood?
Yes, sir.
They are given the tax subsidy. You must understand.
Indirect tax is regressive because it taxes the rich and poor at the same rate. The burden of a GST, burden of petroleum tax, excise, all these fall in the same way, poor and rich, depending upon consumption. More revenue should be generated from the direct tax, and direct tax should increase, the tax rate should increase with the increase of income and wealth. Many countries have a wealth tax, inherit tax, but we do not have a wealth tax, inherit tax. Wealth tax was abolished and surcharge was introduced. Now surcharge rate has reduced. And income tax, a new two method of income tax exemption shows that there will be not much more concession. And particularly taxes, poor are particularly in income tax exemption, there will be no much benefit if you consider the inflation. You must have to consider the inflation, how in nominal term it is increasing. So in view of that, present tax system is regressive, it taxes the poor and rich at same rate, and poor are paying more at per person income. And particularly once in 2011-12, total tax collection around 20% was nearly 20% was coming from poor. Now 30% is coming from poor. And at that time, around nearly 47% are coming from the corporate. Now it has reduced. So tax system is not only regressive, burden of tax is falling on the poorer section of the society, because government is raising resources through indirect tax. In petroleum tax, it is around 7 lakh crore raised, both central and state. GST is increasing, burden is falling on poor. So system, when tax system is regressive, that means poor are paying for a poor scheme meant for poor. The difference, this budget or a previous budget contains some schemes meant for poor. Because whoever forms the budget, present budget, they will have a scheme. When your budget outlay, whoever become prime minister, finance minister or any minister, budget outlay in nominal term will increase. It does not depend upon them. Question is how they are spending, how they are generating resources. But a resource, what should it be? The resources should be the pre-distributive justice. Pre-distributive justice means rich corporate should be taxed more, and that portion should be spent on the welfare of the society, on the well-being of the poorer section of the society, should to address the pre-distributive justice, to address the inequality, poverty, hunger. But what is happening? Government has a scheme for the poorer section of the society. I am not telling. But what is the important point? Resources generated for this scheme are collected same poorer section of society by indirect tax. That is what government gives takes more than this. That is the most important point we must understand. So budget tax system is regressive. It is contractionary because size of budget does not increase as proportionate rise of nominal GDP. It does not. That is one thing. In certain cases, expenditure has declined. For example, in the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, it was around 89,000 crores, revised estimate. It is now 60,000 crores. The Minister of Agriculture has declined. Health, education as a percentage, you always calculate as percent of GDP. Here as percent of nominal GDP. It is expected to be 301.5 lakh crores in 2023 and 24. Health expenditure in India is one of the lowest in the world. It is around 1.29%. And average world is 6%. It is one of the lowest world. And education expenditure, central education expenditure, state is come together around 2.5 to 2.6%. And central expenditure in education is also declined. The budget in health has also declined. Ministry for Agriculture budget has declined. Also there is in certain cases there is also increase. I am not telling. But overall, when there is a increase, there is also contraction. That we must understand. So, budget is not, is it, as I think, it is contractional. And a tax system is regressive. Third important thing is that it does not address the existing problem, and it is also anti-federal. You must think how it is anti-federal. Because in our country, around 65%, exactly around 65% expenditure is borne by state. But the state has a capacity to raise tax is around 32%. Center has more capacity to raise taxes, but less capacity to spend less, but more capacity to raise tax. GST has squeezed the capacity of the state government to raise taxes. Center is free to raise revenue by borrowing or to impose new tax. Center is absolutely free. State has a limited power to raise the taxes. That is why in our tax system, in our federal structure, because center collect tax from the people of the state. Center has nothing, center has no existence without state. That is why center has to distribute its resources, taxes to the state. That decision is taken by Finance Commission. That decision is taken by various Finance Commission. You remember 14th Finance Commission recommendation. 14th Finance Commission has recommended state share in a divisible pool will increase from 32% 42%. So everybody was happy that state share has increased. But when it increased the share, same time it abolished the mainly central scheme, central sponsor scheme. Restructure many schemes. Central sponsor scheme or central sector scheme, central sponsor schemes, what I think, I have to also go through it. Central sponsor scheme means that is in some states has some share. Central sector scheme may be fully financed by state. That may be, I think. When it increased the state in divisible state share from 32 to 42%, it abolished the many central scheme and central sponsor scheme. First thing. Second thing, what it did? It collected more revenue in cess and surcharges. The revenue generated through cess and surcharges is never goes to divisible pool, and states have no share in divisible pools. Remember, increasing government, center is giving so much money to states, center is giving so much as enhanced expenditure. They tell everything. But budget is not evaluated and expenditure income is not evaluated by this way. Nothing is evaluated in nominal term. Because everything is increasing in nominal term. Even inflation helps rise in nominal terms. Your salary is increasing, your tuition fee is increasing, everything is increasing in nominal term. So nothing can be evaluated in the absolute term or nominal term. It should be evaluated by taking the inflation into account or as percentage of GDP. That is the most important thing we must understand. GDP means total value of goods and services produced during a year expressed in real terms, when inflation is taken into consideration. Here inflation is taken into consideration not by consumer inflation or wholesale price inflation. Inflation is measured by the price deflator. So nominal GDP minus inflation considered as price deflator is real GDP.
GDP means total value of goods and services produced during a year. It is the economic activities. It is the sum of the economic activities of a particular year. GDP does not reflect the well-being of the society. If somebody got an accident, then he repairs the vehicle, then GDP grows. He is hospitalized, money spent, GDP grows. He died and cremation took place, GDP grows. GDP does not take the emotion, feelings, happiness, pleasure, sorrows into consideration. It is just the economic activities of a particular year. The thrust on the GDP, I am not telling that the GDP should not be considered, but it is one of the indicators. It is human happiness, gender gap index, human development index, sustainable development index, in all index, these are also equally important. And India is lagging behind, and India is placed abysmal in all index. In GDP, government is talking that it is the fifth largest economy. When India is just probably now the highest population, even it has crossed probably China. When larger section of the people will consume, then automatically GDP will grow. We cannot be boast of that we are the fifth largest of economy. But what is the position of India in terms of per capita GDP? Finance Minister says in his budget that GDP, we are fifth largest economy. Our per capita income has doubled in the last 8 years. But she does not tell what is the Indian position in terms of per capita GDP. India occupies abysmally 142 position. That means behind the 141 countries. In terms of per capita GDP measured in the purchasing power parity, India is placed 128. It is behind 127 countries. In terms of purchasing power parity, India is the third largest economy since the UP rule. China is the largest economy. America is the second largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity. But in terms of absolute GDP, America leads, China is the second, India is the fifth position. Once upon a time, China's size of the China economy and Indian economy in terms of GDP was more or less same. But China's economy has been more than 5 times of Indian economy today. India is considered a bright spot now. 1 year growth of GDP cannot determine the everything of your life, everything of your nation. GDP must be reflected in the well-being of the society, in creation of employment, in creation of job, in creation of increase in the tax GDP, in creation of the well-being of the society. So GDP is not the real whole story of the society. The thrust on the GDP, the planners, government, intellectuals is creating a wrong views among the society. GDP is directly linked with the depletion of the natural resources. The more you consume, GDP grows. More mineral resources are spent, GDP also grows. But we must understand these are not finite. These are not infinite, these are finite. One day, it is the obsession of GDP will kill the GDP. We desire the well-being of the society. We do not want that the GDP should high or low. The most important thing, the equality, distribution of the GDP. According to the Oxfam report, from the 2012 to 2021, the wealth created, more than 40% wealth created between 2012 to 21 has gone to 1% of the population in India. And only 3% has gone to the 50% of the poorest section of the society. This is the rampant inequality, poverty.
According to Multidimensional Poverty Index 16.4%, around 22.8 crores people are multidimensional poor. They are suffering from extreme poverty. This poverty line is decided on the basis of the average poverty line of 15 poorest countries. Remember, America poverty line is much higher than our poverty line. This poverty line is the average poverty line of the 15 poorest countries. On that basis, 22.8 crores Indians are multidimensionally poor. India occupies abysmal position in the hunger index. It occupies 107 position out of 123 countries. And simultaneously 22 crores people, more than 22 crores people suffer from malnutrition. 97 crores people are deprived of healthy foods. India is home to largest of hungry people, largest number of poor people, largest number of homeless people, and per capita GDP the lowest position. In India is in abysmal position in all index. In Human Development Index, it is around 131 out of 193 countries. Who will tell this government? I am not telling that this government is a failure or the past government is a successful. I am not telling this. My question is that as intellectual, we must address in a pro-people angle what your principal has done. That is the question. They are in power, everybody loves power, and everybody wants to retain power, and they do the way they will retain power. So those who are ruling, they are obviously to praise. सबका साथ सबका विकास है, अमृत बेला, अमृत काल, अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं. Can you say how the अमृत बेला? You ask the woman who is dead, he will tell how it is the अमृत बेला. You go to the hospital, see how the patients are languishing. They can tell the अमृत बेला. You ask the lakhs and peoples, lakhs of children who have lost their family, who have lost their parents in the corona pandemic, they can tell the Amrita Bala. You ask the unemployment youth who are roaming on the street without job, they can tell the Amrita Bala. You ask the poor people who are unable to sustain their livelihoods, unable to earn their basic necessities, they can tell the Amrita Bala. One side government tells Amrita Bala, in the other side tells they are providing free food grains to 80 crores people. That means you are admitting, I am not against this scheme, remember. But they are admitting indirectly that Indians are poor and they are unable to take a food to earn 2 square meal in a day. That is a contradiction in their speech. So in this case, what should be the budget? Budget should address the unemployment. Now it is told that if you sell pakri, then you have a job creation. Will only you will sell the pakri? It is impossible. Even you sell it, who will purchase it? I believe in the dignity of labor. But the question is, when you sell something to earn your livelihood, then who is going to purchase it? Unless he has the money. Job creation in organized sector, create job in informal and unorganized sector. When you get a job, you are likely to purchase a vehicle. You are likely to purchase a television. You are likely to purchase a house. You are likely to purchase commodities from shops. Then by virtue of your job in the organized sector, you are going to create job in unorganized sectors. Otherwise, if you open shops, you will not have a buyer. Then when you are failing to address the problem of joblessness, you are telling that selling the pakuri is a job. What hypocrisy! You have promised 2 crore job in a year. I am not telling that it is possible to create a job. The most important thing for your policy decision should be to create job. But unfortunately, job in the central government has a decline. That is the most unfortunate thing instead of increasing. Before the corona pandemic, total employment in both organized and
organized and unorganized sector, it was around 40 to 41 crores. Now today it is less than this. And most of the job in the unorganized sector is vulnerable, low literate, no social security. Then we boast of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Amrut Bela. I am not telling that if I will be made finance minister, I will solve all the problems. It is quite impossible. It is not there is no shortcut theory. The question is admitting your failures. Question is admitting the disease. Unless you admit that you are suffering from disease, how doctor can prescribe medicine? I am not questioning the failure or success of the government. I am questioning why you do not admit that Indians are languishing under poverty, starvation, unemployment, hunger, poverty, squalor. Who has to point out this? It is the intellectual, it is the journalist, it is the academician. But now everybody is trying to appease the ruling class. That is the voice of voiceless people are getting decimated. So a budget should be reflected. Budget must address the problem of present, and it should increase in as percentage of GDP. That is the size of budget. The size of budget is 45 lakh crores. Last year it was a revised estimate. It was around 41.9 crores. Revised estimate. What is the percentage? It is around 7.4%. Then normally you will feel that there is a growth of 7.9% or 9%. Then it is good. But budget assumes nominal GDP of 10.5%. That means real GDP and plus inflation considered by price deflator is 10.5%. But your size of budget increases in comparison to previous year is around 7.3%. That means budget is contractionary. It is the outlay does not grow in proportion to the nominal GDP projected in the budget. That's the first thing. Second thing, what is the size of budget as percent of GDP as compared to other countries? That must be compared. We must compare not with the worst. We must compare with the better. When you are in your class, what do? Do you compete with try to emulate who is scoring lowest mark? You try to compete number one, isn't it? But our government always compare with the worst situation of the previous regime or anything worst things of any country. So that to hide its failure, that is a negative approach. You should compare where it is good. That is the difference of this present regime. As a proportionate, as the size of budget, as proportionate of GDP, is nearly 14 to 15%. It was 20% in 2007, 2020 and 21, then it is declining. Do you know in the other countries it is 40%, 50%, 55%. When your size of budget is in as proportionate GDP is so low, that means your spending is not as large as in other countries.
Sir, I have a doubt. India.
No question.
Okay.
You are free to ask the question.
Okay.
Let me complete my speech. Next important thing. When size of budget is have been collected for shares and surplus, where states have no share. So that is why states share in the divisible pool instead of 42, it has decreased to 35% in 2017-18. In this budget, it is to be estimated it will be 31%. It is not 42. After Jammu Kashmir, yes, it was to be 41%. Odisha share also divisible pool is declining every 5.12%. It is now in 12th Finance Commission. It is around 4.62%. It has declined. Odisha is not getting deficit revenue grant because it has a surplus revenue.
Again, central transfer as percentage of GDP to state has also declined 6.93 to it is around 6.7%. That means state's power, financial power is squeezed and power is centralized with the center. That is why I say what is the budget is also anti-federal. Another important thing is, even you spend more, how you are generating resources. If you generate more resources through borrowing, or disinvestment, monetization of asset, then it is wrong. Understood? Because you can be fall into debt trap. It is true. I am not against borrowing. Remember, you cannot create capital asset without borrowing. But the borrowing should be within your capacity, repayment capacity. That is the most important thing. It should be used in a creating asset, not a day-to-day consumption. If you borrow, build a house, then it is okay. If you borrow, but go LTC, move here and there, then spend luxurious consumption, it is wrong. Then similarly, nation should borrow, but it should be creating assets so that the borrowing amount as percent of our GDP will not increase. There are many countries whose debt GDP ratio is much higher. America debt GDP ratio 137%. Japan debt GDP ratio is more than 200%. Our debt GDP ratio is center is around 57%. If state and center you take it consideration, it is 90% of GDP. It should be around 72%. It should not be what our economists say, or it is reserved by Finance Commission. It should not be more than 72%, but it's 90%. It is still too high because we cannot compare with the advanced country. America has a dollar hedge money. America can print currency at its own. America, we cannot compare with America. The entire world trade, 40 to 50% world trade is done in dollar. So our debt GDP ratio is increasing. What is important, you must understand, when nation borrows, spend more also, but the debt driven growth happens. A debt consumption, debt driven growth happens, but benefit goes to the richer section of the society, where burden of debt falls on the poorer section of society. That is why interest outgo is around 22%, 20% in budget. That means when you pay 20% of your expenditure, budget side in the interest payment, that means you cut the 20% expenditure. What do you cut? You cut the welfare expenditure, we privatize the health and education. You sell the public sector. Isn't that it? That means growth happens, benefit goes to richer section, corporate section of the society, burden falls on the poorer section of the society through reduction of welfare expenditure. That is happening in our country. And it should be, remember, it should be how we can know that our budget size is within the financial discipline. That is fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, primary deficit. Budget constitute revenue receipt and capital receipt. Revenue receipt has two parts. One is tax revenue, another is non-tax revenue. I have already told this tax and non-tax revenue. Non-tax means dividend from public sector or a spectrum, various selling things. A capital receipt has a some component. One component is borrowing. Revenue receipt, capital receipt is total receipt. Total receipt must be equal to total expenditure. But capital receipt contains the selling of the public sector. It also contains the borrowing aspect, how much you are going to borrow. Government is going to borrow 15 to 16 lakh crores. There are three indicators which shows how you are financially disciplined. One is the fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit means excess of expenditure over non-borrower receipt. That means total receipt, capital receipt, revenue receipt. You might subtract the borrowing aspect. Understood? Fiscal deficit is the excess of expenditure over non-borrower receipt. It was stated, we have many rules, Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act, Financial Commission also decide. So it was earlier from Vajpayee government, it was decided that Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act, fiscal deficits of the center should be 3% of GDP, state should be 3% of GDP. There were some concession 3 to 3.5%. And particularly in the corona pandemic years, 2021, fiscal deficit was 9.7% of GDP. At that time, there was a problem, so it was genuine. I am not against fiscal deficit, but fiscal deficit shows how much you are borrowing. But borrowing, what I am against, the amount is borrowed is not to be spent in creating asset or welfare of the people. It is borrowed because inability of the government to tax the richer section of the society. Remember, the inability of the government to tax the richer sections of society. Once upon a time, revenue generated in the corporate tax was twice the income tax. Today, revenue generated in both are more or less same. Marginally, corporate tax is marginally higher this year. And corporate tax was reduced from 30% to 22%, and some cases 15%. In that year, nation lost 145 crores in 2019-20, and this amount is increasing every year. And many countries have the corporate tax is higher than also our countries. Some countries have higher corporate tax than our countries. That is the most important thing. And what is important thing? Massive tax evasion. Around 50 lakhs crores has been to be collected from the people. Richer section of society has not been collected. Loan around 12 lakh crore bank loan, non-performing asset, has been retained in the last 8 years, of which only 13% has recovered. Then who are beneficiary of this loan? Written out. This richer section of the society, corporate section of the society, those who do not pay the loans and they invest this amount in the share market. There are around more than 130 tax havens in various countries, where people, our richer section of society, celebrities, politicians, powerfuls of our country or different countries, keep their money in tax haven where their name is secluded, their identity kept secret. They pay very lower tax. System is created to help the richer section of the society to evade tax. They keep their money and invest in the stock market and as also FDI. This is known as round tripping. That is why public share, when share of the public sector are falling, share of the private sector are growing because of the manipulation. And in all the richer section of the society put pressure on the government of various countries to reduce the tax. So as a liberation process, India is the victim of this liberation process. Though we talk of the economic sovereignty, economic independence, government has no authority to tax the richer section of the society, to tax the investors. If they tax the investors, they will flow away. Your market will collapse. They will, if they tax the richer section of society, they will flow away. That is why they have reduced the surcharge. System is created to help the richer section of society to accumulate a wealth where we told us to virtues of life to pay the tax. I am not telling that we should be indisciplined, corrupt, or should not pay tax. We should do it, but we should fight against this system. That is the most important thing. We do not fight this system that is responsible for poverty, hunger, starvation. The enough wealth is created in the world or India, which is enough today to provide the basic necessities to the population. But it is the unequal distribution of the wealth that is responsible for poverty, hunger, and starvation. So those who are richer section of the society, Adani teams to become the number one there. Everybody wants to enjoy superiority in a government position. Those who are richer, they want to become richer. Those every gender discrimination, wealth discrimination, caste discrimination is created by the person who enjoy by this virtue. So richer section of the society wants to enjoy by this discrimination. They want to perpetuate poverty, hunger, starvation, inequality, which today we are not, instead of fighting, we are fighting with each other. I am not telling you that you should fight against the government or against any political party. But your decision, your approach, your interpretation, explanation, views should be in a pro-people angle. Those who are rules, they want to satisfy those people who will help them to retain the power. It is the media of the richer section of society. It is the rich corporate contribute to the political parties. That is why they try to appease them instead of us. That is why health, education are privatized. So government budget is evaluated fiscal deficit, what I take. It is around this year 5.9%. Still it is considered to be high. Second thing is the revenue deficit. Revenue deficit means revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. So revenue deficit says how your borrowed money is spent. If the revenue deficit is more, then that means the money borrowed is spent on the day-to-day activities, interest payment, salary payment, not creation of capital. Primary deficit means fiscal deficit minus interest payment of the previous year. Interest payment of the previous year. That means it shows how much how the borrowing money is spent, whether it is interest payment or it is all day-to-day creating assets. Effective revenue deficit means if any revenue deficit amount is used for capital asset, creating capital, then it is added to, it is reduced from the revenue deficit. There is a talk in that capital expenditure has grown to 10 lakh crores. And effective capital expenditure is around 13 lakh crores. Then when your budget size is sinking, capital expenditure is growing, that means where you are manipulating, you are cutting the expenditure of welfare expenditure. That is the most important thing. Capital expenditure is important, but you create asset, build roads, you collect toll fee. And you again sell it to the private corporate sector. What does it mean? Again, the cost of overrun any project is growing. For example, today it was planned to complete a project by 1 year. But it is not completed 1 year, it takes 2, 3, 4 years, so cost overrun reduces this capital expenditure. Welfare of a society or a well-being will be increased by spending more social sector, health, education and others. Capital expenditure is necessary, but assets should not be sold to the corporate. Capital expenditure should not be increased at the cost of a social sector. That is happening in our country. So if we examine, that means government is borrowing heavily, not to raise the size of budget to spend more, it is the inability of the taxpayers. It is going for this investment. In the past, there was a policy government to raise the resources by way of this investment to spend the money in that sector.
Again, government told that the money raised by this investment or privatization, when public sector loses its share below 51%, it is no more a public sector. When government is sell in past, they were telling that money raised by this way will be spent on the welfare expenditure. Today, what is happening in the privatization? There is an ideological assault on the public sector. Remember, I am not against the private sector. Private sector is also important. Private, I am not against private. Government, public sector cannot do all the jobs. We need public sector, private sector, but public sector should demand the commanding height of the economy. But what is happening today? By way of a disinvestment privatization, nation's asset is transferred to the individual. Government policy is cronyism. Crony capitalism means the policy decision in which corporate richer section of the society interfere in their favor. So voice and voiceless is getting decimated. So my viewpoint is, as far as budget is concerned, budget tax system is regressive. Expenditure is contractionary. Some cases expenditure are increased, some cases are decreased. It does not address the present problem of poverty, hunger, starvation, and most importantly, inflation and unemployment. One side you raise the, here you create a situation where inflation rises. Another side you raise the interest rate to curb the inflation. GST help in the increase in inflation. Petroleum taxes help in the inflation. You again raise the interest rate. Interest rate should be raised. But what you must understand, the interest paid by the borrower on his loan should be always a positive, really positive. Positive means it should be higher than inflation. Similarly, interest gained by the savers should be also positive. It should be more than inflation. But what is happening? The parity is disturbed in the last few years. Those who are borrowing, they are giving positive interest on borrowing, except some richer section of a corporate. But the savers are worst hit. They are getting negative real interest. You are in bank account, savings account, you are 2-3%. For fixed deposit, you are getting around 6 to 7%. Again, you on fixed deposit, you get interest. In insurance premium, you get tax. Fixed deposit maturity value tax. Everything is your taxed. But government fails to tax the rich. That means you are getting negative return on savings. Those who are dependent, widow, or a rich older generation are hard hit by decline in savings. Our savings rate was once upon a time around 37% of the GDP, has already gross domestic savings has already declined in 21-22%. Either 20 or 28%. Financial savings declining, household savings declining, and much talk of investment is measured in the fixed term capital formation is also has a decline. Our economy is not a consumption economy. Though 58% of GDP comes from consumption, our economy is a savings economy. Our economy was less affected or decoupled from the global crisis of 2007 and 18 by giving no concession for savings. That means you are going to torture the savers. The money borrowed by the corporate, the money borrowed by the government is collected from the savers. What we deposit in banks, insurance, these money are borrowed by, or small savings postal are borrowed by government. That means savers are helping this country to grow. Savers are helping the nation to grow and invest. But you are in budget, you are going to hit the savers most. That is the most deplorable thing of the budget. So, in order to conclude my speech, what I interpreted is a pro-people angle. For the last 20, I am writing both in Odia and English since 2002, February.
There is no single month in which I write. I write more than 10 to 15 articles in the month, even regularly on social media, on each current topic. I always, sometimes people get angry upon me in television when I go for debate. Politicians of a ruling party get angry upon me. It is not a question that I am opposed to any party. I am not opposed to any party. As a writer, columnist, I interpret in a pro-public manner. I am consistent in my views. In past, the way I was interpreting, today I am interpreting. It is not that in the past I was opposing FDI, today I am welcoming FDI. I am consistent in my views and I interpret in a pro-people manner. I am not telling that you raise voice any political party. A student should eschew the active politics, but he must be imbibed with a genuine sense of political consciousness. You are the future of nation. By jumping in the active politics, do not spoil your career. Because your parents expect a lot of things from you. Remember. But you must have an angle. You must be interpreting appropriate. Do not support or oppose any political party. But interpret everything in a pro-people angle. You analyze whether it is going to help the society. It is going to help the people. That must be your objective. And finally, coming to conclude, one thing I can advise. Those who are failure in life in one type, not necessarily they are failure in all other types. Those who are established in a society, they are no way different from us. Those who are ruling us, politicians, what is their qualification? Somebody has not get entry to Indian Institute of Management or IIT does not mean he cannot supersede them. I am not an academician. I am working in public sector. I don't have education in JNU or Delhi or a foreign university. But by virtue of my talent and perseverance, till today I read midnight around 2 a.m. Yesterday I have slept at 2 a.m. But by virtue of learning, labor, perseverance, I am able to compete with any national, international writer, either writing or a speech. So as a student, you should not feel inferior where you are reading. You should have a confidence that by virtue of my talent, effort, you can cross others. Yes, at entry level, make a point, but subsequently you can also cross them. Those who are failure in one area does not mean she is failure in all other areas. Remember, one may not be a brilliant student, but he may be a singer. What is the qualification of Lata Mangeshkar? He may be a good politician. He may be a good writer. He may be a good singer. Society remember those who have contributed to the society. Society does not remember those who are a bright student or have a bigger job. Society remember those who have contributed to society. It does not where you read. One area you fail, you can be succeed in one area. In one time you have failed, you can succeed in other time. Those who are cricketers, they are dropped. Again they are coming. It is your determination, dedication. Thing does not move the way you desire. That's the most important thing in life you remember. You believe in God, Lord Rama. What was the life of Lord Rama? How much he sacrificed? You know it. So you never think. I am from since my life till today. I have a rural background. I have read in school. Many things has not happened in my life the way I did. Still I have continued. Because this is life. You do not know where you have come. You do not know when death will strike you. But what is within you, you must utilize. You must add values to your life, remember. Adding values to your life, not only simple getting job. Adding value to your life, doing something for the society, so that society will remember. We are born. The road on which goes, it is built on the poor taxpayer. The school we read, it is built on the poor man's taxpayer. The hospital we get treatment, it is built on the poor man's taxpayer. The industry where we work, this is built, this uses the resources of the masses society. The environment pollution this creates, it also create problems for the poorer section of society. You are rich or you are poor or you are a great entrepreneur or you are a talented person, it is not simple because by virtue of your effort. Somebody has contributed directly or indirectly to you. Poorer section have the massive contribution towards your growth. So while contributing to society, while contributing to your career, your family, you should not forget your contribution to the society or these people who are suffering. With this, I conclude my speech. Thank you all, giving a chance to share my feelings, emotions. Thank you all. Namaste.